Hello everyone, Olga-Show here on the second day of Malticore Developers Conference here in Santa Clara, Silicon Valley, part of Silicon Valley. And we have all the way from Orange County, which is part of California, Dean Dodger from Advanced Cluster Systems. He was a speaker at the conference, and I brought him here to tell us what brought him to Malticore Developers Conference and about his company.
Yeah, thank you very much, Olga. This is a wonderful opportunity to speak. Yeah, we provide applications and software framework to be able to help application writers speed up their code and do it much more quickly than with pretty much any other alternative that we're aware of. We're working on everywhere from the big supercomputers like IBM and SGI, all the way into clusters and to multi-core devices. And so we're here to be able to share what we know about writing parallel codes and helping accelerate codes with a minimum of human time spending getting a parallel code working faster as possible. So it's something that we're very happy to be able, very pleased to be able to share with the others here about that, as well as learning about where the state of Malticore is today in the conference.
So now, being in those codes, are you code developers, or what's your degree in experience?
Okay, yeah. So we provide software framework for parallelizing codes, as well as running parallel codes on various kinds of systems, as well as provide consulting services for those where individual needs are individual customized and personalized needs are there. But my background is that I'm a doctorate in physics from UCLA at the Plasma Physics Department, and that's where I cut my teeth on
Plasma physics?
Yes, that's right. So we're talking about simulating like the interior of the sun or the aurora borealis, or like numerical tokamak simulations where those are devices to be able to for generating fusion power, electric power, for example. So that's where we're looking at the basic principles of how you manipulate plasmas, and that was my group, my research group in the physics department at UCLA. Years ago. And so, but along the way, we developed our own clustering solution that I later commercialized after I completed my doctorate. And then that led to the solutions that we have today. One is called the supercomputing engine technology, which is what allows application writers to be able to parallelize their code very quickly.
So it's called supercomputer?
The supercomputing engine technology.
Supercomputing engine technology, using your advanced cluster systems solution for it.
Yeah.
That's interesting. You're from physics into code writing and bringing up how that helps you and us.
Because the way I look at it is that since physics applies to a lot of other fields, over the last, say, 12 years or so, I've done a lot of consulting on other people parallelizing code, anywhere from biological systems where they're trying to look at
I've done that, I'm biologist,
Oh, yeah.
so I know without physics you cannot figure out a lot of things.
Bayesian analysis of phylogeny was one of the ones I helped out Professor at UCSD about. And then like there's another consulting I did for a client in England who had floodplain modeling. And there was another one where there was one that was based in Pleasanton here that had a plasma physics code that he parallelized, and that was a Fortran there. But I just saw the same patterns happening over and over again, and we're rewriting the same old message passing algorithms again and again, but all the pointers are different, all the specifics of the arrays are different. So I thought there's got to be a way to be able to abstract this, to be able to make this something that one API that actually supports all these different kinds of basic message passing scenarios that are needed for a computation to continue. But be able to simplify this and abstract this, because 90% of programmers don't want to deal with that kind of nitty-gritty of where every little pointer is and where every little send and receive and where to capture the messages and where to send the messages. So I like dealing with that nitty-gritty myself. I kind of enjoy that, but I can understand other people the bulk of people who don't want to deal with that. So that's the solution. That's the kind of solution that we provide in SET.
So if I don't want to deal with technology, advanced part of it, but I want to use advanced technology and be an end user of some of the product, what it will be, where it will go, for instance, when your advanced cluster system will help to integrate it.
Well, we have a number of applications under our belt already for that we've parallelized. One is Wolfram Research's Mathematica, that has millions of lines of code that took only 1 man month, when I was the man
Okay.
in the 1 month of working time, that parallelized that code, and it vastly exceeded the performance of the parallel solution that Wolfram had, their own grid Mathematica. And then the same thing happened with Apple's QuickTime software, where high def video rendering and encoding, that we exceeded their performance at 4 processors, and then we continue to scale at 8 and 10 and 12 and so forth processors on up. And then our latest is Scilab, the open source equivalent to MATLAB, that we've parallelized that, and we're working with a consulting company called Equalis that specializes in Scilab work, sort of like a Red Hat model. And we've run that on up to 300 cores over at IBM and 200 cores on an SGI cluster or supercomputer. So we have a lot of partners we're working with to be able to expand the benefits that we see in this technology, and porting more and more applications towards this.
And coming from Orange County, which is not far away from Los Angeles, coming into Silicon Valley, do you see any difference?
Oh, well, I visited here over the years. I've attended various conferences over the last 15 years, goodness, here and there, for various different things. But yeah, it's a little, the culture is a little different, and the weather's a little bit cooler than in Southern California. And I have my wife has extended family in the Bay Area too, so it's definitely a different vibe, but it's still California, but it's sort of, I'm not sure how to describe it.
Do you feel like something always happening here? With almost every breath you take, and something happens, somebody open something, or maybe they think of startups, or maybe already have startups.
Well, certainly, like the vibrancy of the technology side and the idea of entrepreneurship is certainly that is hard to find anyone else who can parallel that compared to the Silicon Valley, but San Jose, that area. I mean, the closest thing I can think of is in Orange County, like Irvine, but still, there's stuff going on in Irvine, but I mean, it doesn't quite reach the level of here, of that kind of, you've got to get that kind of complete entrepreneurship where all the pieces are here to make that happen.
Because I hear a lot of this from foreigners coming here, and of course you are only about 4 hours away from us, which is Orange County here in California, but you already feel coming from UCLA and working with San Diego University, and so it's really, you do feel the difference of all of the ideas. I think they just fly, we just have to catch it.
Yeah.
Now, this Malticore Developers Conference, which is 8th annual this year in 2013, is it first time for you here?
Yes, this is our first time to this conference, and so it's certainly a neat experience to have.
And you were a speaker. What did you speak about?
Well, we introduced our technology and kind of implicitly introducing who we were in that, but this idea of how we could take the technologies that are set framework and apply it to Malticore, because in Malticore's case, they're clearly within the last decade, they've clearly had more and more cores that they've had to deal with, and so they're fighting the same problems that all the other guys are in high performance computing. They're also fighting the fact there's more and more cores to work there too, and so it's just that it's happening. It's now really potentially hitting the mainstream part of the computer industry, especially via Malticore. So that's definitely a very important itch to scratch, essentially. And so we feel we have something to add to that. There's sort of a cultural divide in the sense between the extreme high performance computing markets. They want to do their own thing in their own way, but we see ourselves as sort of like Prometheus, like taking the fire from the gods, and say that here it is. Here's the ideas from that's been in the experience of high performance computing for the last 20 years, and we want to apply this to the general computer industry that's here. And so we feel that, but But the problem with what they did is with high-performance computing is that it's not easy enough to use. We've packaged it, abstracted in such a way that it is much easier to use for application writers. And so that's the bridge that we've provided between high-performance computing and the rest of the world.
Sometimes people look at the price tag. Is it cheaper to use your solution?
Oh yeah. I mean, because the issue with the expertise of high-performance computing is that the expertise doesn't scale. I mean, we want our codes to scale, but the expertise of that knowledge doesn't scale to the fat part of the bell curve of programmers that are out there. And so, if you were to try to do what we're doing, if a company was trying in Silicon Valley was trying to do what we're doing, I mean, they would have to hire one of these HPC experts, and that costs $150,000 a year for them to do it. Compared to our solution, it's only a few thousand, on the order of, depending on how big a system you're talking about, either a few $1,000s to be able to license our software by comparison. So, I mean, because we package it up in such a way that expertise into our software.
Now, talking to you and being so excited about plasma physics and code developments and solving all this supercomputing power, when you grew up, who did you want to be?
An astrophysicist, like a cosmologist astrophysicist. I was like inspired by Carl Sagan. I mean, back when I was only 8 years old when he had that TV show Cosmos with that one. But then also, like, as I got older, it's like Richard Feynman and who was an expert not only in physics, but also he helped develop the computers for the Manhattan Project and for the first nuclear bomb in the day too. So he knew computers too. So it's like I have a lot of affinity with that kind of bridging of physics and computers and applying it to practical things, practical useful things. Because like Feynman espoused the idea of making microelectronics out of quantum-sized motors and things like that, and he saw the benefits of that. So but as being useful devices for humanity in that way.
Right. So because we need that, we want to have more comfortable life, easy to use. You turn on button, and most of us, we don't even know what behind the scene is, but it's a lot of chips and a lot of prototypes of different software programs and hardware problems could be, which I don't want to worry about it. This guy is supposed to worry, and not to worry, but create for better use for all of us.
Yeah.
So, what would you like to wish for our viewers from your perspective? And
well, I mean, it's definitely. I mean, there is being able the ability to be able to seek out and make use of the opportunities that are available out there. I mean, sometimes there are some jobs or some companies that sort of get into a certain pattern all the time, but sometimes there's new things that come up, new ideas that are different and out of the box thinking. That it's like if they had, I wish they would have more power to actually make use of that and make use of those opportunities and to be able to go forward with new ideas that can make their lives better as well as those around them in that way. So there's always competition for time for that kind of thing, and so it's like I can understand the difficulties in making those decisions.
right, but I'm glad that you be able to solve little by little all of those puzzles in our life. And thank you for coming to Malticore Developers Conference. I had the pleasure to meet you, and you never know, I met Mark when he was hardly known here in Silicon Valley, and here he is. So you could be one of those potentials as well, and your company would be growing by next year. And I'm like, wow, have you been a tiny little company, and look at you, what's happened? Never know. And all those supercomputing powers would be making with your solutions. So
wonderful. We're definitely in that startup and growth phase, and we're looking forward to it. Excitement.
And thank you, Dean, for coming and being at Olga-Show.